There are these dark moments in your life when nothing makes sense and it does not feel worth it to exist. Sometimes in life, you may feel like you have lost everything, or as if the whole world is against you. You may start to lose hope or feel helpless, not knowing what to do or how to get out of your situation. Negative feelings may overwhelm you, and the devil may whisper in your ears, saying, "You cannot do it. You are no good. Just give up." Just existing itself may feel like a burden and constant suffering, but that is actually a good sign. Yes, really, think about it like this. It's just another step in your spiritual journey. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to walk the whole way towards it. That which feels unbearable now becomes the source of your strength. This is the dark night of the soul. And just like there's a dark night for the soul's journey, there's also a delightful sunrise, a sunny morning, an energetic afternoon, and a relaxing sunset of the soul. It's a cyclical process, yet we tend to be more alert and conscious when we're in a dark place. We might also be struggling to grow beyond some ego resistances, which make the transition harder for us. The dark night of the soul is as crucial to your spiritual growth or evolution as achieving enlightenment. As a matter of fact, you only reach enlightenment after dealing with the dark night of the soul. Otherwise, it's premature enlightenment, and it only means there's a long way ahead of you, and it requires strength and willpower. St. John of the Cross, a 16th century Spanish mystic, captures the essence of this state of being. Faith is a dark night for man, but in this very way it gives him light, he says. Live in faith and hope, though it be in darkness, for in this darkness God protects the soul. Cast your care upon God, for you are his, and he will not forget you. Do not think that he is leaving you alone, for that would be to wrong him. In simpler terms, St. John of the Cross is saying that having faith can feel like being in a dark place sometimes. But oddly enough, it's in this darkness that we find a kind of light. He suggests that even when we're feeling lost or unsure, we should keep holding on to hope and trust that God is looking out for us. But who is St. John? And how did he gain such profound insight into this challenging spiritual experience? St. John of the Cross, born Juan de Yepes y Alvarez, wasn't just a scholar of spirituality. He himself lived through a period of immense spiritual darkness during his imprisonment by fellow priests who didn't agree with his version of spirituality. It was from the depths of this personal dark night that he penned his magnum opus, capturing its essence and offering solace to those experiencing this dark but ultimately transformative spiritual state. He reminds us not to think that God has abandoned us just because we can't see the way forward. Believing that would be unfair to God, he says. Instead, we should trust that God is with us, even when we can't see or feel his presence. We should remember that we belong to God, and he won't forget about us. In the dark night of the soul, bright flows the river of God, as St. John says. However, this is hard for the ego to deal with. It's too much to handle. The ego doesn't like uncertainty or vulnerability. It wants to be in control and have all the answers. So, when we find ourselves in a dark and uncertain place, our ego resists. It tries to convince us that we're alone and that there's no hope. When faced with challenges such as betrayal, like being cheated on, or experiencing a sudden loss such as losing a job, our ego's resistance becomes even more pronounced. These painful experiences can shake us to our core, leaving us feeling vulnerable and uncertain about the future. In moments of betrayal, the ego may convince us that we're unworthy of love or trust, leading to feelings of isolation and despair. Similarly, losing a job can trigger a sense of failure and insecurity, making us question our abilities and worth. Our ego seeks to shield us from this discomfort by clinging to a false sense of control and certainty. It tells us that if we just work harder or pretend everything is fine, we can avoid facing the painful realities of our situation. The answer is a surrender, letting go. St. John of the Cross says, To reach satisfaction in all desire, its possession in nothing. To come to the knowledge of all desire, the knowledge of nothing. To come to possess all desire, the possession of nothing. To arrive at being all desire, to be nothing. It sounds paradoxical, but it's essentially a test of one's faith. When your faith is strong, it's even a form of certainty. You know for a fact that divine providence has a design for everything, including the very dark and absurd moments in our lives that bring us suffering and confusion. Having faith in the process becomes essential. It's about trusting that there's a purpose to the suffering we endure, even when it feels senseless and overwhelming. In the depths of despair, it's natural to question the meaning of life and our place in the universe. We may grapple with existential dread, wondering if there's any significance to our existence at all. Yet, it is precisely during these times of uncertainty that our faith is tested the most. Like a flickering candle in the wind, our faith may waver, but it never truly extinguishes. It is in the moments when we feel most lost that we must hold on to hope with unwavering determination. It's easy to lose sight of the light at the end of the tunnel when surrounded by darkness. But as St. John of the Cross reminds us, there is always a sunrise waiting to pierce through the night. The journey through the dark night of the soul is not one of stagnation, but of transformation, much like the caterpillar entering its cocoon. It's a process of metamorphosis, wherein the soul sheds its old ways and emerges renewed and strengthened, just as the butterfly emerges from the cocoon with wings. At the heart of this transformation lies the ego, that stubborn voice within us that clings to control and certainty. The ego resists change, fearing the unknown and the loss of its perceived identity. However, it's essential to realize that the self is change at its essence. The only constant is change. The caterpillar doesn't resist the breakdown of its body and attaches to its identity within the cocoon. The whole point is to embrace the process of transforming into a butterfly. It's only through surrendering to the divine will that true liberation is found. As St. John of the Cross teaches, to possess all desire, one must possess nothing. He writes, "This perfection consists in voiding and stripping and purifying the soul of every desire. It is in letting go of our attachments and embracing the unknown that we find true fulfillment." The death of the ego is not an easy process. It requires confronting our deepest fears and insecurities, facing the darkness within ourselves with courage and humility. It's like the mythical phoenix, a creature consumed by its own flames, only to rise from the ashes reborn. This dark night of the soul is a transformational fire that burns away the dross of our ego-driven desires, leaving behind a purer essence. But as the ego dies, a new consciousness is born, a consciousness rooted in love and compassion. As Eckhart Tolle, a contemporary spiritual teacher, reminds us, when you lose your sense of self, you find your soul. This newfound soul is no longer driven by the need for control or external validation. It operates from a place of inner peace and connection. It is through the death and rebirth of the ego that we come to understand our interconnectedness with all beings and the divine. As the Buddhists teach, there's no self, no other. In letting go of the illusion of a separate self, we realize our oneness with everything that exists. This understanding fosters a deep sense of compassion and empathy, allowing us to see the world through the eyes of others. In letting go of the ego's illusions, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities of the universe. We become vessels for divine grace, channels through which the light of truth may shine. As Rumi beautifully expressed, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. This field is the space beyond the ego, a place of pure potentiality where anything is possible. It's in this space that we can truly connect with the divine and experience the profound interconnectedness of all things. It is our darkest moments that make our fire shine brighter. They are the cracks in our armor that allow the light to seep in, illuminating the dark corners of the mind. those places where the ego refuses to go. As Rumi says, the wound is where the light enters you, or the poison becomes the antidote. It's a paradox, isn't it? Our brokenness becomes the doorway to wholeness, our vulnerability the key to unlocking unimaginable strength. Think of it like a seed buried deep beneath the earth. It endures darkness, pressure, and even the potential for rot. Yet, within that struggle, the seed gathers the very essence it needs to push through the soil and reach for the sunlight. Our wounds, in a similar way, hold the seeds of immense growth. They force us to confront our limitations, to reevaluate our priorities, and ultimately to emerge stronger and more compassionate. Letting go of the ego isn't about self-flagellation or becoming a doormat. It's about shedding the layers of fear and insecurity that prevent us from fully embracing who we are. It's about surrendering to the transformative power of our experiences, both joyful and sorrowful. As we loosen the ego's grip, we discover a wellspring of compassion within ourselves, not just for our own struggles, but for the struggles of others. We begin to see the shared humanity that binds us all, the tapestry of experiences woven together despite our perceived differences. This newfound compassion isn't a weakness, but a profound strength. It allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, to offer solace and understanding in their times of darkness. It allows us to become vessels for divine grace, channels through which the light of love and empathy can flow. Remember, Rumi also said, as you start to walk on the way appears. So take that first step. Embrace the darkness of the dark night, for within it lies the potential for a magnificent transformation. Let your wounds become the source of your strength, and let your darkest moments become the source of your enlightenment. The light at the end of the tunnel is a portal to a new reality where pain and suffering are only signs of greater joy and pleasure. The pendulum swings both ways. I hope you found value in this video and found wisdom. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe for future updates.